I'm McBride, and this is my speech on performance enhancing drugs. The purpose of the speech is to persuade the audience that there's a problem with performance enhancing drugs in sports, and that they should be allowed in sports to elevate the level of fairness. Sports, steroids, and other performance enhancing drugs have had a negative effect on players, teams, organizations, and fans in sporting history, and is a real problem in sports today. As a fan of sports, I was interested in the effects that steroids had on the sports that I love. And if you're like most people, you probably enjoyed a sport that steroids have affected in one way or another. So I performed a little bit of research in order to understand the effects that performance enhancing drugs, or PEDs as they're called, have on all sports, and why there are impossible ways to solve that problem. One of the ways that they're trying to solve it now is through drug testing programs, and nearly every major league sport or organization has drug testing programs in place, and there are benefits to it, such as random drug testing, where the athlete would not be notified as to when they're going to be getting the drug test. But there are many negatives to it, and some of those are that many of the drug testing programs are not at random and give the athlete time to prepare for the test. Another problem with drug testing would be the expense. They are very expensive, and because of the expense, they're selected on athletes, and they're not performed on every participant of the sport. And with that, athletes feel that they can get away with using performance enhancing drugs. There are many reasons why an athlete would be turned on to using the drugs, most notably for the effects it has on their performance. It increases an athlete's ability in the sport that they're playing, whether it be their speed, their strength, or their stamina. And having that increased physical ability gives them an advantage over other athletes. And performance isn't the only one. There's also off-field reasons why an athlete might be turned on to drugs. That would be fame and fortune. With an increased physical ability comes an increased performance, and increased performance leads to things such as extra pay and fame. By receiving the unfair advantages that banned substances give athletes, it's ruining the integrity of the game, and it's altering how legitimate the sports are. And there are a number of people affected by performance enhancing drugs in sports. Most notably would be the natural athletes that participate in the sports. They're given a disadvantage from a performance standpoint. Obviously, they don't have the increased strength, size, speed, or stamina that the performance enhancing drug users do have. And another group affected by performance enhancing drugs would be the fans of the sport, and that is because it alters the legitimacy of records, victories, and championships. And it also affects gambling, which is a big part of today's society. Gamblers could possibly lose large sums of money based on the sporting outcome. As a possible solution to this problem, I suggest that drug bans be lifted and supplementation deemed acceptable. Allowing drugs in sports would not become a mandatory thing, and would be up to the user. It would just let all athletes know that substances may be being used amongst their peers. And this isn't just limited to steroids or hormonal stimulants, which is what most people think of when they think of performance enhancing drugs. There's also other things and supplements used every day, such as caffeine, Gatorade, and protein, which are banned by some organizations. This would allow all athletes to have access to this. And the funding for this could have potential to be expensive, but funding would come through the organizations benefiting from the athlete's performance, such as the sports team or like a college. And Another option for funding would be the athlete pay for themselves. This proposal to drug bans implemented by our sports organization is a means of eliminating the problem today. It's not an argument to attempt to encourage steroid or illegal drug use. It's just an attempt to level the playing field amongst athletes and add integrity to the sports that we all love today. I hope you realize the problem with PEDs and accept my solution as a possible way to prevent performance enhancing drugs from affecting sports. Thank you.